Only one type of burger. For every pallet. Fries are extra. Large in size. We've got the shakes. Going over the brim.
Hey, this is Chris from JCW's. Put a positive, delicious spin on your day at any one of our 5 locations. In Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, or Harriman. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now.
All right, thanks for joining us. DJ's out. Riley Jensen, the quarterback mental health performance coach. He can help your business, your sales team, do better. I don't know that he could help Jay Drew do better because when you're at the top of your game, there's nowhere else to go. Guy's been covering BYU sports for 37 years, and there's no end in sight. Is that not correct, Jay Drew?
Yeah, good morning to you too, PK.
Yeah.
I certainly can use some mental health on the golf course. I will say that. But,
yeah, we all can.
We can keep that between us. We can keep that between us.
Been covering BYU for 25 years, 20 years, 30 years? What is it?
2008, I think, just around the time that you left the Tribune to go to the dark side. The radio side, not the Deseret News, which I did a while later. But no, it's been since 2008. Max Hall's junior year is kind of how I mark it as I remember it. But it's been quite a while. It's been a good ride.
And so we just completed the basketball season, 1 week away from all that losing in the NCAA tournament. And wow, what a season it was. So many highs, so many ups and downs, disappointment, great times, just basically your assessment now that it's done and we've had a little bit of time to reflect.
Yeah, a very mixed bag, I think, is how Kevin Young put it after the Texas loss. Up and down season, started with such high anticipation, obviously the most anticipated season in BYU basketball history, with AJ coming on and Rob Wright coming over from Baylor and Richie Saunders coming back, and on. And they started out well and won their 16 of their first 17 games. And there were a few signs of leakage. I don't know what you want to say. And then they got beat at Texas Tech. That was kind of a loss that showed that there were some flaws, that they did have some issues, especially on defense. And then, even then when Richie went down on February 14th against Colorado very early, they were starting to even regress further. As far as the Oklahoma State loss on the road, I think was really, really telling that this team had some issues. And then obviously, got it together. When they were at the Marriott Center, there was a really harsh loss that really, I think, that was the key loss of the season, if you ask me, and that was to UCF at home. The way they lost, the way they were really not that competitive. And at that time, I think a lot of people started to hit the panic button. And then, they won a couple of good games. They beat Iowa State. They beat Texas Tech at home, a couple of teams that, won some NCAA tournament games. So, yeah, it was just a mixed bag. I've termed it a disappointment. I think that's fair. I think they did not meet expectations, even with the injuries. And so, they move on from there, but that's kind of my synopsis, I guess, of the season. I don't think it was a wasted season. I've seen some people say it was a wasted season, that they wasted AJ's talents. I think that's that's a stretch, I think. But yeah, they did not get the most out of what they had. That's certainly for sure.
Well, I think you brought up a really good point there. I think the thing that ruins everything in life is expectations. But I do have a
Good
question. I do have a question. What was the most? What was the thing that surprised you the most behind the scenes? Was it injuries, talent evaluation, player development, or something else that we didn't see? And is this program going to bounce back without DeBanza? I mean, I know people are like trying to act like he's coming back. He's not coming back, right?
Yeah, he's not coming back. It would be the shocker of all shockers if he came back.
Right.
I think you hit two things there that would surprise me. Talent evaluation in roster construction, even before, they took the court. Clearly, they overvalued some guys. I don't want to call out any guys publicly, but there were just some guys that did not perform as well as they thought and what they were, frankly, being paid to do in this era of revenue sharing and NIL. So that was a big one. I think a couple of guys did not develop. They did not get better, and it's particularly big guys, inside players. Again, I don't want to really call out anybody, but there were just guys that they were counting on and just did not take that next step and get better, especially in the areas of rebounding and defense, and also any sort of offensive proficiency outside of 6 feet. So yeah, those are two main things I think that surprised me, that where the program didn't take that next step, and to where, even to match where they were last year, where they had some really great role players, guys that improved as the season went on, guys like Trevin Nell, Mawit Mag, Dallin Hall, that were really essential last year. They just didn't have that type of guys this year that kind of got them over the top and really contributed to what they were calling the big three, obviously, with AJ and Rob Wright and Richie Saunders until he got hurt. That element just wasn't there this year, and that to me was quite a surprise.
Jay Drew of the Des News joining us. I'm standing in the hallway of the Moda Center in Portland, and it's probably at least an hour, if not longer, that the season had ended. And Kevin Young is there, and he's saying that, to him, shooting is the holy grail. And I know you listened to that and quoted it at all as far as that. And I'm wondering, okay, and you put on a team this year with a lineup with a lot of times you had 3 non-shooters out on the floor when Saunders went down. So with that in mind, and if he wants to emphasize shooting and it's the holy grail to him, that would lead me to believe that there's going to be a significant roster overhaul, and he's going to go find shooters because he's got a ton of guys who are athletic but can't shoot a lick. What do you think about that, and where does he go from with that in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the Achilles heel of this team, or that was one of them, along with defenses. They just did not have shot makers. And I think you're right. I think probably of the 11 guys that are kind of eligible to come back, that still have eligibility, I think they'll probably 6 or 7 will be back. So I think you're probably losing 4 or 5. I'm assuming Dawson Baker is going to get clearance from the NCAA and get that year back and come back. But that's not set in stone yet. So, yeah, I would say there is going to be turnover. I mean, in this day and age, there were some teams last year that they, every single guy. I think UCF is one of them that the roster was a 100% overhaul. So that shouldn't shock anybody. But yes, I think if you look at it, probably half of the guys that are eligible to be back will be back in my estimation. Maybe 1 or 2 above that.
Shooting is paramount, so the guys coming back shoot. Like, for instance, we haven't seen the Kozlowski kid play, but I saw him play in high school many times, and the kid's feet set. And
Jay, this Corner Canyon stuff with Patrick Kinahan has got to stop. He is just over the top. Cannot stop fawning over anything Corner Canyon.
If you were accepted into the family, you would. you would have the same opinion. But you're an outsider, and we don't appreciate outsiders.
Golly.
The kid can shoot, and I want to see him get an opportunity because I've seen him knock down 15 to 18 footers at a high clip. So that's one guy. Who else? I mean, in terms of can shoot. If that matters, then do you think that he's going to put more of a premium on shooting rather than running and jumping?
Yeah, I think so. We don't know with Nate Pickens. He came from UC Riverside. He tore up BYU when they played a year ago, and then obviously BYU signed him, got hurt in the off season, had surgery, and never played. Assume he can shoot. He'll be back. We know Dawson Baker's a decent shooter. One of those guys, like you said, that if he can get his feet set, he's a pretty good slasher, but he's not that type of guy. He's a spot-up shooter, and I think he can help them. But, yeah, they definitely need guys out of the portal. Tyler Murruss, they brought in from Idaho, just never found his stroke. They gave him plenty of opportunities when they played some cupcakes in the pre-non-conference schedule, so I don't expect that he'll be back. KJ Perry, the junior college transfer that was there on the bench, and everybody was asking, who's that guy? He was brought in to basically redshirt the second half of the season. So he was the number one rated junior college transfer in the cycle a year ago. So I'm assuming he can shoot. So the answers might be right there, guys that have been, on the bench in the program. But I think you definitely need even more upgrades than even if those guys are capable shooters. I think, and obviously the portal opens on April 7th, the day after the national championship game, and I'm sure BYU coaches are already doing their due diligence and looking and finding out who's maybe going to enter the portal, and I'm sure some of those conversations are already taking place.
What do you know about this Bruce Branch kid?
I don't know a heck of a lot about him. I've watched a few clips. I know he reclassified, which means he moved up a grade, I guess is how you would say it. So he technically could still play next year as his high school senior year, but he reclassified, so he's basically going to play for BYU this coming fall. I had one guy tell me that, hey, if they're expecting the second coming of A.J. DeBanza, they're going to be sorely,
disappointed.
Disappointed. Yeah, exactly. But from everything I heard, so he's not one of those game-changer type guys, but obviously he's a five-star recruit. So there's a lot of people out there that know a lot more than I do that have rated his talent as among the best in the country. So, yeah, I think it should be a good addition. I don't know if he can step in right away and be with this kind of, shooter that they're expecting, but definitely a good get for Kevin Young. No question about it.
There's you're actually talking about the reclassification, and this one was kind of the opposite way, a la Cooper Flagg. But, man, there's been a lot of talk about this. Do you want to explain a little bit what that is and why some of these football coaches are joking that they're getting 20-year-old freshmen now?
You mean being the guy that, he's the opposite of where he moved up a year. But I'm not really sure what you're asking
so
there.
What I'm saying is I've even had some BYU coaches joking about, like, guys are reclassifying, and by the time they get to BYU, they're 20 years old as a freshman. And there's been some specific references to, like, kids out of Hawaii. When my kid's playing in, like, little AAU basketball tournaments now, if he plays out of state, the games are, like, depending on what grade you're in, not your birth certificate. So, like, my son's in 5th grade and he's playing against 7th graders that are in 5th grade because they've reclassified. Like, is this, to me, it just feels like this is craziness what's going on with all the reclassification.
Reclassifying the other way.
Right.
Yeah, I've certainly heard that, holding a kid back to basically,
Yeah, give him 1 and 2 more, like almost 2 more years.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be interesting. There's also talk of kind of these age limits I've seen floated out there that, hey, once a guy's 25, he's, shouldn't be playing college sports anymore. So, it might catch up to him. And then when you're BYU and Utah and some of the local schools, the missionary aspect also comes into play with that. So, yeah, that's I haven't seen that a lot, but I'll take word for it that's happening. And I've actually been surprised where I've asked kids, how old are you? And they've been a year or two older than I thought they were. And so obviously that's happened somewhere along the line where they've been held back a year or two.
Yeah, you've been covering BYU football for a long time. I think you just said from 2008. And I feel like every year, depending on the program you're in, everybody's telling me they're the best recruiting class ever. BYU is actually legitimately making an argument that this could be their best year. With some of the, the high-profile signees that are still on missions and some of the staff changes, what are you seeing in the spring and summer that will tell us if Kalani Sitake's program is truly ready to take the next step?
Yeah, one caveat is that we don't get to watch a heck of a lot of spring football. And then when we do, we're on the balcony of the student-athlete building, and they're at the far north end of the practice field, and you can't barely even make out the numbers or who's doing what. And then there's a kind of a barrier there. So to be totally honest, I haven't seen a lot. But I will just say the overall look of the program, the way the guys are bigger and stronger, and they just have that look of Power 4 football team. I've seen that upgrade, just the physical element of it, of just, the eyeball test, if you were. They look the part now. And I couldn't always say that. I remember a few years ago at a bowl game, I guess it was more than a few years ago, when BYU played Oregon in the Las Vegas Bowl, and I just couldn't get over the difference of just the physical size. And, there were all these physical specimens on Oregon's side and very few on BYU's. BYU ended up winning that game, but my point is that BYU really now looks that part. And so, that's through recruiting, that's through the transfer portal, but it looks like a bona fide Power 4 football team right now.
With that in mind, they're losing some receivers. Obviously, the Roberts graduation or out of eligibility, and then the Kingston situation. So, what do you think as far as being able to have enough pass catchers for them to get the ball downfield the way Aaron Roderick wants?
Yeah, I'm kind of skeptical. I've written that. I've said that I think personally that they need more upgrades. They got Kyler Casper out of Oregon. He didn't do a heck of a lot at Oregon due to injuries and, being behind other superstars there. They're relying a lot on him. The tight end upgrades are really, really good. Walker Lyons looks like from USC, and Roger Saliapaga from also, or was it Oregon or Washington? I'm not quite sure on
Oregon.
him. Oregon, yeah. So, they got a kid named Paki Finau out of Washington. It looks like a really good tackle. It's going to help them a lot. But, yeah, I think they still need help. I don't trust some of these guys coming back maybe as much as BYU coaches do. I'm talking about like JoJo Phillips. Every year they say potential, and he just has never taken that next step. So Cody Hagan is coming on, and I won't mention where he went to high school. I don't want Riley getting on me.
Oh, listen, Patrick knows where he went.
But
Best friends with the family.
The University of Corner Canyon.
So, yeah, I just think they need to maybe slim pickings out of the transfer portal right now.
I thought he's on the basketball team.
What was that one again?
I thought Slim Pickens is on the basketball team.
He's out of Corner Canyon as well.
Well, they better get some guys because they want to throw the ball, and Bachmeier is primed for a good year, I would think, right?
Oh, yeah. He's, and speaking of expectations and all that, how damaging they can be, as what Riley just said. But, yeah, Bear Bachmeier really looks good. From what we've seen of him, looks like, and coaches have said the same thing, that he's really comfortable and knows the offense. And so, yeah, if they can surround him with some talent and with and L.J. Martin, obviously is not going through spring right now after the surgery, but obviously they expect him to be 100% in the fall. There's some weapons there, and they just, like I said, I think the tight ends are going to be great, but receiver I think is the big question mark right now.
All right, Jay. Hey, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me on.
All right, that's Jay
Thanks,
Drew.
Jay.
You can read all of his stuff in the Deseret News. Veteran reporter, does a phenomenal job covering all things Cougars and does some golf here as we get into the summer and the golf season. Stay with us. We'll get you caught up on what you may have missed next, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Just a bunch of guys sitting around and talking sports. This is Scotty G and Friends.
General manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong.
Every game matters for us to get in the playoffs. Whether we've been on the road for 20 days or 10 games or 5 games, it doesn't matter. We got to find a way to win. These are different circumstances here. We've played well, but the only guarantee is when they put that X beside your name and, it says you're in the playoffs, Other than that, we can't stop and we can't take our foot off the gas, and we've got to keep our focus. And, we've treated, every game coming down the stretch and even from the start, like it's game 7. So we can't look past that, and we got to have that mentality. If we do, we have a good chance to get in.
Catch Scotty G and Friends weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Do you love rom-coms? Do you wish you could talk about Christmas movies year-round? Then we have the perfect podcast for you, Hallmarkies Podcast. Throughout the year, we cover all things romance, holiday, and Hallmark, including recaps of every Hallmark show, like When Calls the Heart and The Way Home. You can also get loads of bonus content covering shows like Bridgerton, Sweet Magnolias, and Just Like That. We are an all-female group of friends who are passionate for these shows and movies and give our honest opinions as well as gush over what we love so much. But that's not all. Every Monday, there are interviews with all your favorite actors, writers, directors, and more. Check out Hallmarkies Podcast on all your podcast providers and on YouTube. That's Hallmarkies Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
As always, these Slacker Radio headlines are brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Well, your Utah Jazz did it. I didn't think they could do it, but they did it, and congratulations to them. And what do I mean by did it? Didn't think they could do it? I didn't think they could lose to the Washington Wizards. No, I didn't think they could. I thought the Washington Wizards were going to lose the game last night. You realize Riley Jensen sitting in that the Washington Wizards came in with a 16-game losing streak? 16 games in a row they lost.
How did we do that?
They suck.
How did we lose to them?
15 and 55.
Some creative basketball.
I got to give it to the Angels for putting out a lineup like that. And I got to give it to Will Hardy, who, instead of just saying, guys, in the media postgame, what do you want me to say here, man? You saw it. You know what we're doing. He actually tries to make things interesting and say something of value, even though everybody knows what was going on. We're not winking anymore. I mean, it is so obvious. You get a team on the road that has got a 16-game losing streak, and they come into our house at the D.C. and win. You got to give them credit for the Jazz losing that game. That was big time.
Fantastic job.
To be able to I didn't
Just
think
fantastic.
I didn't think they could do it. And the great thing about it is nobody was ever nervous about the game. They got steamrolled, creamed, hammered, destroyed right from the start. And then they gave us a little excitement. They had like a 20-2 run, but everybody knew that at that point it was over. There was no time for that team to come back. And more importantly, there was no talent. And I am totally fine with it, man, because I know now the end is in sight. If this was year 2 Oh, I thinking, oh my goodness gracious! But this isn't. This is the final. This is the fourth and final year, and it is over. And Riley Jensen, who does mental performance, you spoke to that earlier, and recap what you were saying about what Will Hardy and the players are going to have to do when they reconvene next fall with the idea to win as many games as possible.
Well, I just really do feel like losing can't be a disease. And I love what Will Hardy does. I do like the comments that he makes. I do like the comments that the Angels have made about him and what a good coach he is. But I do think that there's going to be some difficulty when you do get the draft pick that you want and some of the pieces are finally in place, and then all of a sudden you have to switch from really trying to not play too well so that you can have a chance at a really good draft pick to turning that around and just flipping the switch and trying to turn this team into a winning team. And, you know, we mentioned earlier, you know, Gary Anderson, some different teams where people have been trying to turn the program around. It's gonna take one or maybe two instances where they really have a quality win against a team that they're facing adversity against that's going to turn it around and say, oh, okay, so all these things that we've been talking about that are important to winning actually work. All these things that we've been talking about actually can contribute to us being a really, really good team instead of having the here we go again is what I call them.
Do they need that on the road? Because you brought up Gary Anderson with Utah State and Hawaii. I brought up Bronco Mendenhall's second season. It was a weeknight game, if I remember, down at Fort Worth against Gary Patterson, a pretty good Texas Tech
I don't know if it has to be on the
Texas
road.
Christian team.
I think it has to be against a good team, and I think some things have to work against you in the game where you actually like come back and figure it out.
So they're down by 10 going in the fourth quarter at OKC, and they win that ball game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and or even down a little bit more than that in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden like things come together and they get like some key defensive stops and they put together a run, and then all of a sudden they're in the game, and then they go back and forth for the last 5 minutes of the game. And you know, I mean, look, like you brought it out, you know, just like you being a lifetime Corner Canyon fan, I'm a lifetime Utah Jazz fan.
Yes.
And so
I actually, for me, it's longer than my lifetime.
Right. I know. Corner's been really good to you throughout your life.
It has.
But watching the Utah Jazz when John Stockton was playing, one of the great things about John Stockton was being able to control the game in those last 5 minutes and actually like control the tempo, making sure that they got the right shots, making sure the ball went to the right guy. And that kind of a win can really like cement a team back to the winning ways, and they're going to need something like that next year. And I don't know when they run into adversity, but every great team, every great organization, and every great player that I've ever seen in my entire life runs into some sort of adversity during the year, and it's how you respond to it that kind of changes your trajectory every year.
Right, I can buy that. Yeah, and I think it'll happen. And the more I think about
I hope it does.
Me too. And the more I think about it, the more I think that that's real, because this team is going to be brand new. You're going to have a draft pick, and they only played, 2 games with Jaren Jackson Jr., and then he was sat and he's done. He had, a knee thing or something. And so he'll come back, and so it'll be a brand new team. And so he has limited experience playing with the guys, and he's never played with Kessler if they should re-sign him. So you'll have a new just a new team. Do you think that they will go to great lengths from a psychological standpoint to try to emphasize everything here going forward is what matters, and this is new, and we're starting right now? Everything that happened before, forget about it. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I think whether you've had a bad past or a good past, it's super important to just be trying to move yourself to the present moment all the time, right? Like the most important game in basketball is the next one. The most important play is the next one. The most important one is the one in front of you. And everybody talks about having a short memory. Everybody talks about not hanging your head and thinking too much about the past. Very few people talk about how to do that, right? And I think there has to be some serious investment in how to do that.
So how do you do it?
Well, that's what I specialize in.
Okay.
It takes more
That's
than,
why I'm asking
it
you.
takes more than a 2-minute
Please
answer here.
enlighten us.
It takes more than a 2-minute answer here on how you bring.
Okay, so you got 2.5. Go.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. Both after something that is really good that happens to you and after something that is really bad that happens to you. I actually use this phrase, or I actually use this acronym. I always talk about NBA, just like the National Basketball Association, but it actually stands for next best action. So 2-on-1 fast break, you throw it over the backboard on a 2-on-1 fast break. It's a bad play. Well, what's your next best action? Well, my next best action is to hustle back on defense, communicate with my teammates, and give maximum effort, right? Well, it's also true that you go on a 15-0 run against a team. Well, what's your next best action after a 15-0 run? Well, if you could sit down and talk to everyone and be like, hey, you still need to focus on defense. You need to still focus on communicating on defense, because part of the reason why you had that great run is because you were focused and you were communicating and you were hustling on defense. And so the answer to what's my next best action is always present. It's always in the present moment. And that's where you can make hay. You can't make hay in the past. You can't make hay in the future. You have to do it right here, right now. And so, that's just a really good example of how you can bring yourself back to the moment all the time, is by focusing on NBA. What's my next best action? And that's true in business. That's true if you're a sales professional. That's true if you're an NBA player.
Got it. Yeah.
That's my 2-minute spiel.
And we'll see how that develops. That's why the next season has an opportunity to be so fascinating, to see how this big puzzle comes together at some point. Yeah, and I think it will. But there will be some growing pains. It's not like everything will be super smooth. And we're seeing it with the Mammoth. They play tonight against Ovechkin's in town. Most goals, and most people consider him a top 2 or 3 player all time. So it might be the last time to see him, as he's 40 years old, if you want to get out there. But they've been plagued by a level of inconsistency. And we were talking, we had on Jay Stevens. You can catch his stuff. He does a podcast and is our NHL insider for KSL Sports. That I've come to accept their inconsistency is maybe who they are right now. And because you're like, okay, they won 2 or 3 games in a row. They go out on the road and win 4, and then they lose some. And I mean, why? Why is that? Why are you looking so good here but so bad here? And I think that's just who they are. And do you think that can have the simple aspect of maturity can get to? Now, they got some veterans on that team, but they also have some really, really young dudes that they just need to grow from a experience standpoint together, and they can get past this 4 in a row and then lose 4 in a row type thing.
Yeah, I think the Mammoth is a really, really interesting study, and they have some pretty legitimate guys that are veterans and a whole bunch of really, really young guys. And so that naturally breeds some inconsistency. That's why we all love veteran teams, is because they've been through things. They've seen things happen before. And so they're not going to get too high or too low based on different things that happen. And so as they continue to build the culture with the Utah Mammoth, and this can be true with the Jazz, you're always going to have a combination of these veterans with young guys. And can you bring the young guys along to understand the culture of giving 100% effort every night and being totally focused on that game that's right in front of you? I think that's always important. That's why I asked earlier when we did talk to Jay about, I don't think I called it the culture, but the identity. Mm-hmm. How important is an identity? I think identity is incredibly important to teams, because they need to know who they are. They need to know, it's like if we were to break you down, PK, and we were to break down your career, you could tell me 3 things that you're really, really good at that brought you to the dance of being on sports radio. You could tell me that in no time. But when it was adverse times, or when things were difficult, or when there was difficult things for you, it's important to focus on those things that you're really good at, instead of focusing on all the things that you aren't good at that brought you to the dance. And I think that's important for individual athletes. I think that's important for teams. I think that's important for anybody that's in performance.
Yeah, very well said. All right, and also, too, today is a beautiful day. It is the first full day of Major League Baseball, the toughest sport to play.
Best athletes I've ever seen. I mean, they're just amazing. John Kruk, Prince Fielder, these guys. Athletic. That's all I could think of. I dream of their athleticism.
So let's just body shame people. Riley Jensen.
I'm not body shaming.
You are too. That's exactly what you're doing. You're
all
full
I
of crap
said
if you're not acknowledging because
all I said is
they ain't fit.
All I said is you don't see a lot of tennis players that look like John Kruk.
You and your tennis.
Hey, just because it's not the most popular sport in the world doesn't mean it's not the most athletic.
Do Americans even play tennis anymore at the highest level?
Oh, my gosh.
All right.
Hey, Coco Gauff wants a word.
I'd rather talk to the Garf family. Stay with us. We'll get some feedback, wrap up the show next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
When was the last time you felt in control of your business finances? Expenses tracked, invoices sent, taxes ready. That's where Found comes in. Found brings your banking, bookkeeping, invoicing, and taxes together in one simple app. Manage expenses, invoice clients, send payments, and prep for tax time right where you bank. Join the hundreds of thousands who have already streamlined their finances with Found. Open a Found account for free at Found.com. That's FOUND.com. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by Lead Bank, member FDIC.
When you've got Omaha Steaks convenient everyday protein waiting at home, that what's for dinner panic turns into your weeknight win. And now's the time to buy during the Omaha Steaks Spring Savings Event. Save big on their exclusive lineup of mouthwatering steaks, gourmet burgers, air-chilled chicken, pork, seafood, and more. Go to omahasteaks.com for an extra $35 off when you use promo code AUDIO at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com. Promo code AUDIO. Terms apply. See site for details.
It's a strange shift, isn't it? The parent who raised you needs some help, and you want to be there. With Care.com, you don't have to do it alone. Whether you're clear on the kind of care your aging loved one needs or still figuring it out, we've got support. Find background-checked in-home senior caregivers for anything from companionship to dementia care. Or browse senior living communities, read reviews, even schedule a tour. Plus, access to safety checks to help with your peace of mind. Still not sure what's best? Our senior care advisors, who are all master's level social workers, can help you build a plan. For a limited time, use the code PODCAST20 for 20% off your initial Care.com subscription. That's PODCAST20, all one word, good for 20% off. Start your senior care journey with confidence.
If you've got a move coming up, you really need to look into United Van Lines, the do-it-all moving specialists. With United Van Lines, you don't worry about a thing. You have a dedicated moving coordinator, qualified drivers, and full value protection for your possessions. Compare that to a couple of dudes manhandling your family heirlooms or cramming your things in a container on your driveway. Rather than hope for the best, you deserve a hassle-free move. Visit UnitedVanLines.com. Big moves, small moves, all moves. Easy choice.
After the game last night in which the Jazz lost to Washington, which had a 16-game losing streak, Coach Will Hardy said, we need to flush it and move on. Couldn't you say that about the whole season? Scott, love it. Maybe we get the 4th pick. Did you take the 4th pick? You want more?
Well, we need a top 3 pick this year.
Top 3 pick. Wouldn't it be sweet if DeBonsa was on this team?
I actually... After watching him this year, look, I watched him play one time in high school. I was like, he struggles a little bit with his outside shot.
He does.
He turns it on here and there. After watching him last year, I think it would be fantastic.
I agree. I couldn't imagine anything better.
He can get to his spot, and he can hit shots when he gets to his spot, man.
And I think that he's a really good passer. The problem is, why would you pass the ball?
You can't on that team.
Yeah.
Last year you can't, but he will in the NBA. Yeah. He'll make the right play.
Right. Lobs to Kessler. I can see it now. I can envision it. I'm wishing it. I'm hoping for it. Probably the odds are stacked against it happening, but still.
His ability to handle the ball and be like a point forward type player is that can translate to the next level.
And those strides that he takes to the basket.
Well, and you know, there's a lot. If you look at the NBA, the history of the NBA, there's a lot of guys who didn't average very many points in college basketball because of all the zone defense. And then they get to the NBA and they're like 28 points a game because man to man. I feel like he's a guy that's scoring 24 right now with 3 guys on him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's going to score in the NBA.
Yeah, he was getting double teamed
everywhere
against Texas, literally 40 feet from the bucket.
Right.
Yeah.
And still scored. Scored.
Yeah.
Still was getting to his spot.
Right.
Now, I'm a little bit like, there was some parts about BYU basketball that was too much like professional basketball to me, where it was just like, okay, we're just going to give him the ball, let him get to his spot and make it. There was some of that going on that I didn't like as much.
Yeah.
But, man, the fact that he could do it and everybody knew he was going to do it,
right,
and he still did it, I mean, that's pretty good.
I would agree with that. Abso-stinkin-lutely. BYU football, we talked about that. Is this the best of times? Is this the most interest that they've ever had? Season tickets are sold out. Yes. Clinton says, yep, time for a bigger stadium. Get the big house in Provo. Yeah, how about that? 45 years my uncle has had season tickets. Oh, he has a disabled son. He spells son, S-U-N, for at least 25 of those years, and he would throw his son over his shoulder and march all the way up to his seats under the video board in the south end zone. When it came to his time to get seats, he was told all the accessible seats were gone, and his normal seats the last 45 years have been given to The Rock. For the first time ever, he did not get tickets. I'm all for making their money, but it's become way more about business and less about loyalty. Loyal, strong, and true doesn't mean the same. I'll always wear the blue, but the taste in my mouth this year is a little worse. All right, well, that's the flip side, Tyler. What are you going to do? Now, what you're going to do here is you're going to stay with us and listen to Jake and Ben because they're coming up next. Riley, you'll be in tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Look forward to it on a Friday.
My 3-day contract.
3-day contract. Well, we appreciate your desire to come in. Check out, give us your website for work once more time.
rjpg.net. rjpg.net. Give me a call. Reach out to me. I'd love to help your business, help your athlete. Anybody that I can help. I love to help.
There you go, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for listening.
When was the last time you felt in control of your business finances? Expenses tracked, invoices sent, taxes ready. That's where Found comes in. Found brings your banking, bookkeeping, invoicing, and taxes together in one simple app. Manage expenses, invoice clients, send payments, and prep for tax time right where you bank. Join the hundreds of thousands who have already streamlined their finances with Found. Open a Found account for free at Found.com. That's Found.com. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by Lead Bank, member FDIC.
Hey, I'm Josh Spiegel, host of the podcast Lunatic in the Newsroom. If you enjoy journalism that drifts into mild panic, wild overthinking, and a guaranteed nervous breakdown, Lunatic in the Newsroom is for you. It's news like you've never heard before. The only newsroom with a panic button. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and gasp in horror as the show spirals completely out of control. It's not just news, it's emotionally unstable. Lunatic in the Newsroom. Listen today.